Hey, composing gloves here, and today we're going to be talking about the Cadential 6/4. Now, we could talk about part writing. We could talk about all these different variations on the 6/4 Cadential thing. I'm going to show it to you purely in a chord progression context outside of any sort of, part writing rules. So I will give you a little bit of it because you are in a position to sort of grab some of it. But that's sort of like a discussion for another day. We're exploring chord progressions for now, at least at this point in the series. So what is the deal with the Cadential 6/4? Well, as you can guess, it has probably something to do with some sort of a cadence thing. And what it is a cool way to progress from the 1 chord to the 5 chord. Now, a Cadential 6/4, if you remember from the figure bass video, would be a 1 chord in the second inversion, meaning the 5th is in the bass. This has some unique properties in that it is not considered a tonic chord, in that you would not use this to resolve to it. You just wouldn't, at least in this sense. Why would that be? Well, that's because there's a 4th in the bass. Whenever there's a 4th in the bass, this is considered dissonant. At least it used to be. Today, it doesn't sound very dissonant at all. But it used to be like, whoa, bro, dude, man. Like, hold your beefcakes right where they're at. You just put a 4th in the bass. What are you doing? And it had some particular properties that were very useful. So this is an example of a Cadential 6/4. This is like I literally wrote this in a couple seconds. So I'm going to show you a better example. But one of the things is, so here it is, it's right here. So we have the G in the bass. And even though it's got C, E, G, it is not really considered a tonic chord in that you would use this on an imperfect authentic cadence. You wouldn't do that. Here you would, it's just a cool way to transition to the 5 chord, which is really, really nifty. So you can think of a number, we could take some of our chord progressions where they end on the 5 chord and insert this maybe right before you resolve to the 5. Typically it's inserted on a weak beat, especially in part writing, so that you can resolve to the 5 in an extra smooth motion. Why is it extra smooth? Well, look at this. So the G is in the bass. Well, let me play you what this is real quick. So I'll play it for you. Once again, this chord progression, I think I could pick some better chords, but anyways, here it is. So I just repeated it. I could probably invert this and make it cooler and fit in some things and maybe go to different chords or whatever. But you heard that this thing. Oh, I am working on in this here. Oh, here's another example of one. Let me play it for you here. This is what it looks like in a piano roll. Oh, let me give it to you with the full everything. Oh, yeah. The Cadential 6/4 is right here. So listen for this part. So that's a better example of the Cadential 6/4. I have it in another key in here too. I guess I'll show you that real fast too. So here it is in the key of D, and here is the 6/4. This one was written out pretty quick though. Now this one uses a stepwise melodic bass. So we go down, 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 and as a result of the melodic bass, we end up with an A in the bass, which is the 5th, but it's a result of this moving bass line that goes down, down, down. See, we're going down, down. There's it. There it is. So there's a couple properties about this thing. So let's look at it a little more. So those are some examples. So surprise, surprise, right? So here we've got the 1, and here are the rules, right? You need a G because that's the 5th. The 5th has to be in the bass, otherwise it's not that inversion. So you need the 5th in the bass. And I didn't write out any melody, and I'm writing this in the treble clef. So that's another thing. Melody can make this quite a bit easier. So I double it right here because one of the things that you do generally, now I've seen examples where this is not the case, but it's pretty much agreed upon that this is a very common thing that's done, is you have a G and then you double it. So whatever your highest note is, your top note, that in part writing it would be your soprano voice, that would be also a G. It would also be the 5th. That's just a thing that you do. And the cool thing is these notes will stay still because the G is, you know, part of the 5 chords. So these can just sit there, and then the E and C from it go stepwise to their counterparts in the 5 chord. So the E will turn into a D, so it goes down to a D. And the C will turn into a B. So this goes down 1, this goes down a line in a space, and so, or a whole step. So we got this going on. So this turns into this, and this turns into this. And so you see we kind of fill up some of the scale too when we introduce something like this. So we have something like, if you're a piano player, this sort of a chord progression is like, if you practice your inversions a lot, this would be like obvious. It'll be like, oh my gosh, a vampire just walked in the room, get a wooden stake right now. Like, it's going to be that obvious. And that's like, you're not used to seeing vampires in your room. Then you might be wondering, what is that thing? And you're one of the people who dies. So yeah, that's the Cadential 6/4. It's a really cool chord progression. You know, toss it in there. It's a cool way to vary up a otherwise not so interesting chord progression. If you have any questions about this, let me know. Subscribe and have a blessed day. So that's the sound, and I'm going to do it pretty soft, but so this is something that could probably have a little bit more drive and stuff.